All right, welcome, Unsecurity Podcast listeners. Welcome to episode 167. The date is Friday, March 4th. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. 2022, and this will air next week early. Joining me is my good friend, Mr. Brad Nye. Brad, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. It's, crazy. I was telling you earlier, I was up till 4:30 this morning getting a class done for the CVCISO course, which is going really well. We're
That's good.
16 lessons in, 14 lessons to go. So over halfway.
Nice. I'll say
Yeah.
I got a lot of questions about the podcast we just released this week, the Ukraine-Russia one. People were asking if you and I were going to discuss it on the podcast. I was like, yeah, it's coming out Tuesday. So apparently a lot of interest there.
What were the questions?
Well, they just wanted to know what our take was and when, if we were talking about it, when would we be talking about it? And I was like, oh, we already did. It'll come out Tuesday.
Oh, okay. So we did cover that one already.
Yep.
I can't remember last week. So it's good that we already talked about it.
Yeah.
That's good. What else is going on? The CSP mentor program coming up. We're a little over a month away from
I
that.
should probably buy that book.
Yeah, you and me both. But I did recruit another instructor, Ron Werner. Do you remember Ron Werner?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
he gave me a verbal agreement that he's in. He's an enthusiastic fella. So, share the load with us. That'll be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I just have to reach back out to him. I need to not drop that ball.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so that would drop us to what? Two classes each?
I think
Three.
for you and Ryan, it'll be 3. For the 2 guest instructors, it'll be 2.
That's so much.
But I
Much
think
better.
I know. But I think for myself, I may have to bow out and only do the first one, and maybe just make some appearances here and there.
I mean, you've got the other class going. I think that makes sense. We'll
My
have 4
plate,
instructors.
my plate is so full. I'm gonna spend the rest of today just trying to catch up with emails for this week. It's good though, man. I mean, this is the mission. This is what we're here for.
Yeah.
So speaking of the mission, our marketing folks often give us the topic for what we're going to talk about, in any given podcast. And the topic they chose to give us this week was COVID relief funds and how they can be used to fund or benefit K-12 security initiatives. So, I was like, oh, that'll be fairly easy. So we started preparing for the show, and I'm doing a little bit of research, and I'm like, can we make this any more complicated for schools?
And vague.
Oh my God, right? I mean, what are we doing here? Just give me some money, tell me I can spend it on this, and then let's go for it.
Right. Yeah, give some examples. There's no examples in the bill. And, maybe it was written that way on purpose to leave it exceptionally broad so that schools aren't restricted. But, man, it was...
Well, and just understanding how K-12 works, right? You've got various departments of education. You've got the federal Department of Education. Most states have a Department of Education, but they don't really get to call what gets done at a lot of schools. So then you have laws, and then you have school boards who make other
Right.
types of decisions, and then you've got some laws that apply and some laws that don't apply, and then you've got these consortiums who come together and give guidance and maybe can secure some funding for you. And it's like, I'm a security expert. You're a security expert. We've been in this industry for a long time. It's relatively hard to, I think, confuse us because we've been
Right.
in this for so long. And I'm doing research for, okay, what are we doing in K-12 and how do they get funding? And I got to admit, man, I am absolutely confused.
Yeah, I was reading going, wait, so they can what? Okay.
Right.
So the best guidance that I've seen is basically using this for um, prevention of DDoS attacks, ransomware attacks, phishing attacks. So what does that mean from the security perspective? To me, it's like, yes.
Right.
You know, if you can show that it will help prevent loss of data or interruption of learning, then you can do it.
I don't know, and it's no surprise to me, and thank God we've got Ryan Cloutier over at Security Studio that we can rely on, and I know you and him are doing a podcast coming up, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But thank God we've got specialists who can hey, tell me how the heck this works, right. And they know because they've spent God knows how many hours wading through it, and I think there's even confusion on their part too, to be honest. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we came across, and when you talk about COVID relief funds, the granddaddy is the $2.2 trillion CARES Act that passed in March of 2020. So a couple of years ago already, and there was another round of funding and what have you, but the big one is that one, and in that there are two funds that are set up for K-12. One is the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, otherwise known as ESSER, ESSER. And that provides, some aid based on, proportions of, just standard federal K-12 funding programs. And then there's another part of it, which is the Governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund, which is GEAR. So you've got ESSER and GEAR. That one gives additional, funding based for workforce development programs and what have you. So neither one of these funds and the bill itself doesn't specifically call out cybersecurity. This amount of money should go to cybersecurity. There's nothing like that.
No, not percentages or anything. The only guidance that they've given was a fact where they clarified, quote, the federal COVID-19 relief can be spent on cybersecurity resources and engage with school districts to increase awareness of the critical need for prioritizing stronger cybersecurity measures. So there you go.
Which I don't even know what that means.
I mean, to me, you can use it for anything as long as you can show that it improved the cybersecurity posture of your school.
Do you even have to show that?
I would assume that I know there are audit built in. There's triggers for audits of how the fund was used. Well, I don't know what that looks like, but
right. But when it's so non-prescriptive, I mean, it's this thing that I bought. I bought a new GoPro, and we use it for creating education videos on cybersecurity or whatever.
Yeah.
It's does that fit or does that not fit? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think, how about this? Instead of what can they, what should they be using that money?
Well, and that's the thing, man. I mean, when you look at K-12, in my experience with K-12 in consulting and seeing, observing what happens and what's been happening, they need help. Mm-hmm. Not just money, and not just here, take money and you figure out where to put it and how to do it. They need okay, step 1, what do I do? Step 2, what do I do? Step 3, what do I do? How much should it cost? How should it look? Like you said, give me some examples. We've preached forever that complexity is the worst enemy of cybersecurity. Yeah. Make it simple. These are not information security experts, especially when you think about, a lot of the people that are doing cybersecurity in K-12 are tech directors. They're basketball coaches. They're, science teachers. They don't have this as a full-time job.
And even the districts that do have it, they're focused almost entirely on IT. They're not worried about security because, I worked with a couple of districts, and when this all hit, their only mission was keep things up, let students remote learn. That was all they focused on.
Right.
And I feel bad for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, especially when you see, kind of the situation for K-12 right now, they are easy targets. They're getting hit all the time. Last year, according to, I know it's somebody who's got a big name in K-12, Doug Levine, 408 cybersecurity incidents in 2020 alone. And those are only the ones that are known and reported, because Doug Levine does, he doesn't have some kind of magic pixie dust. He's scouring the web looking for what's been reported online, and then he creates a dashboard about it. That's about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, what would I use it for if I were in that position? I would probably do a couple of things. I would make sure do some sort of DDoS protection, because that's one of the big things we're seeing. Do a risk assessment to understand where I'm at in terms of especially ransomware, but just attacks in general, and then develop a plan from there.
Well, when we talk about risk management, right? So let's say that my school district does get DDoSed. What's the impact to the school? I mean, do I even necessarily care? It's not like I have an online shopping cart, really, that, I've got millions of dollars flowing through or anything.
Yeah. Well, and I guess a lot of their stuff is hosted by providers. It would be VPN. So, that's probably not as big. You're right. That's a good point.
No, and I was just posing the question because,
I think back when the pandemic was, like, everybody was remote, it would have been a bigger deal. But now that places are back in person, you're right. I don't think thinking about it now, it's probably not as important.
Yeah. Because I think one of the things that's always been an issue for me is simplify everything, right? Simplify everything. Things got really crazy with COVID because, originally, maybe a small school district might have had a handful of networks that you were responsible for securing. Things were pretty well contained. You sort of understood at least where most things were. You may not have known the details and been, a super technical specialist on it or anything, and then COVID hit, and those 5-6 networks became 500-600 networks, 5,000-6,000 networks, because now we blew everything out to home networks, and now they have to connect remotely, and some need a VPN, some were doing Zoom, some were doing Teams, whatever. We just had to figure out some way to get everybody connected. And then the dust settled, and now we're sort of getting back to in class. But there should be some real wake-up calls in this whole process. What were some of the pain points? What were some of the things that hurt? I think when you look at most of the attacks that are the most disruptive on K-12, it seems like ransomware is big, because if I'm an attacker and I'm money motivated, I'm going after places that I know are going to pay, and I know a K-12 school district's going to pay. They're not going to go out of business.
Right. Yeah. And we've seen it. Yes, they want money, but also creating chaos. Mm-hmm. It's a big part of what drives them. And you get that big thing in the news of a school having it taken. Well, maybe that gives them an opportunity to hit something else, because we're not, it's that situational awareness. People are focused here, they're over there doing something.
Right. And you and I are both parents, so I know that one of the things, I like simple, and what I think I, as a parent, deserve to know from my school district, because I'm a taxpayer too, right? I mean, that's how the school districts get funded. It's not pixie dust there either. I mean, money comes from somewhere.
Right.
I would want to know where my school is at. Where are you at with security? Give me something. Give me a number. Give me a letter. Give me where are we at? And I want it to be objective, and I want it to be something that I can compare from school to school.
Yeah, or district to district. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Or yeah, there you go, district to district. So I live in Waconia, Minnesota. You live in Minnetonka, or that's where your kids go to school.
Yeah.
And so I would want to know what is Waconia at? What's your risk right now? And however you want to measure that, you can go with the way we do it. You can go with the way you do it. I don't care. But it has to be the same. And it has to be the same as what Minnetonka is doing, or so I can compare apples to apples.
Right.
I know that they're two different school districts, but security is security, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you apply it. It applies differently, but it's still the same damn thing.
Oh yeah, you still have to have the same, the basics.
Yeah.
Do you know where your assets are? Do you know what your risks are? Do you know what the impacts are?
Right? And so I would want to know, where is my school district at? How seriously are you taking it? Have you done a risk assessment? Give me some assurance.
Right.
Not that you're perfect, that you're the best ever, but that you're actually taking it seriously, and that's how you would communicate it to me as a security person. What's the risk, right? Because I know this is about risk management. It's not about risk elimination. It's not about, have you done pen tests? Yeah, that's important, but that's not going to tell me the state of security right now in the school district.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't care if they're not doing, they score poorly. Well, I mean, I do, but it's not. Right. I just want to make sure that they are aware of the risk and they have a plan.
Exactly.
That's all. I mean, that's all you can ask.
And so you just hit on the second piece that I would want as a parent. I would want, where are we at? Where are we going? When are we getting there? And how much is it going to cost? That's the plan. This is where we're at. Here's the plan.
Right.
And then I would want to look at Minnetonka School District. Where are they at? What's their plan? So let's say that we're doing it the way, the language we speak. Let's say Waconia is a 602 and Minnetonka is a 695. All right, Minnetonka is a little bit ahead of us here. That's kind of okay, maybe. They have more resources. There's lots of reasons. But you tell me that we're at a 602, and you tell me that in the next 12 months we're going to be a 705, and it's going to cost $850,000. At least now in my mind, I can quantify what that money is going to. It's okay. You're moving the risk number up from this to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And a part of that plan is, what, like you said, what are you going to be spending the money on? Do you know?
I don't want more blinky lights, because I already know that you can't control. I already know two things in most school districts. You already don't know what it is you're trying to secure.
Mm-hmm.
So why in the hell would it make more sense to add more to it? I already know. I already don't know what I'm trying to secure, so let's just put more into it. I mean, that's chaos.
The only thing I could think of for the quote-unquote blinky lights is if you have out-of-support equipment, be using it to refresh to, new supported, especially things like firewalls, So if it's out of warranty, yeah, okay, I think that would be a good spend.
Oh, for sure. But here's the thing: if you'd gotten, no, I agree completely. And if you had a good foundation, you would have not found yourself in a position where you have things that are out of date.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we know that's not the reality a lot of school districts see.
But that's not the reality, but that's what has to be fixed.
Oh, I agree with you.
That's where I would spend money.
Right.
Fix the problem.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I agree. Right now, you're in this like catch-22. You have to spend money to patch these like just blatant bad things, right? Like you said, a firewall that's 3 years out of date.
Right.
You got to spend on that now.
Right.
But let's not get here again. Let's not repeat the same problem again. Let's get our hands around asset inventory and asset management so that we will know and be able to plan for the next time this happens.
Absolutely. And, don't go spending huge amounts of money on a SIEM or a SOC or those types of things until you get the basics under control. because they're not going to do you any good if you don't know if you're getting everything or not. We've seen that repeatedly in incidents. Well, we had this scene, yeah, but you didn't have the whatever got the device that was compromised wasn't feeding it.
Garbage in, garbage out, man. Yeah.
Right. So get a handle on your stuff before you go crazy spending.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. And so it's sad to see when you look at, some of the guidance that we've come across on what funding is available and where should I spend it. We already hashed out, I think, with a lot of logic and a lot of rationale where you should spend it. And we've got God knows how many people with fingers in the pot trying to figure this stuff out that can't seem to get it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I like to try to look on the positive side of things. So, I think as a positive, they left the language on how they can spend it intentionally vague so that there weren't significant restrictions in place, like limiting how they could do it. But I think by doing that, it caused confusion. Right? So, okay, well, what does that mean?
Well, right. And so here's a place where I think they could have made it more prescriptive. What's the one thing, or give me a handful of things, give me 5 things or 10 things that every single school district in the entire country must do. Make it one thing, make it 2 things, make it 3 things, make it whatever, because there are things, because we talked about the fundamentals, the basics. What are those things? Risk management. Must they have a risk assessment done according to this sort of methodology, or this is what a risk assessment is?
Right.
Should every school district in the entire country have an asset inventory and be able to maintain it?
Right. Well, and we're not alone on that. Mark Warner from Virginia and Susan Collins from Maine wrote a letter to the education secretary and said, where'd it go? They steps to publicize the information, and then how understanding the importance of using funding for cybersecurity efforts, including promulgating lists of recommended cybersecurity benchmarks that additional resources could help school districts attain. So, yeah, like you've got senators, bipartisan, saying, "Hey, give them a benchmark."
Right. Stop making it so damn complicated. Stop expecting them to navigate these waters when they've never been in these waters before. You know what I mean? They need a captain. They need somebody that can show them the way. And then once you know how to drive your own boat, yeah, go nuts. Enjoy.
Right.
But this isn't something where, yes, you will eventually figure it out. But we're trying to save you from the pain involved in trying to figure it out yourself.
Right.
We've already been through the pain, or we've worked with people who've been through the pain, and we know how painful it is. So let's not go there.
Well, good example. I won't mention the district. It wasn't either of the ones we've already mentioned. But I was talking to him, and I was like, "Well, what did you guys do when everything went remote and you had to hand out iPads or Chromebooks? How did you manage it?" And they're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
It was so fast that initially they were just like scrambling to function because they didn't have anything in place."
Yeah, and I don't blame the school districts at all.
No,
it's a hard job, man, trying to navigate all the stuff that they need to navigate, make sure the kids are safe, make sure that they're reaching certain achievement levels, make sure that they're all getting educated, especially, nowadays when it seems like the family unit isn't like it used to be, where I think a lot of times teachers have to act like parents, and raise kids on behalf of parents who should be raising their kids. So it's a tough life for them, for sure.
Oh.
So the last thing we want to do is add more to it.
Right. Like, why? Let's make their jobs easier.
Right.
How can we do that from a security perspective? Well, protect them from ransomware.
And get the damn money and the politics out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This isn't a political thing. This is it's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty binary.
We've seen it. You know, we talk about it. It's about people. Security is about people, and their school districts. Warner represents Fairfax County, and they had teacher and student sensitive data stolen. So now you've got, you know, kids, K through 12 kids' data floating out there.
Right.
That's a problem.
Well, and so yeah, 100%, man. So we're putting them in a position where they're already, you know, essentially compromised. That's one thing, right? But then we're also creating a whole crop of poor digital citizens. You know, these kids don't learn the fundamentals of information security. You know, TikTok is TikTok, man. I mean, that's the jam, TikTok, and but you know, what's a good balance between digital using TikTok? TikTok's not evil, but we have to keep it in balance with going outside and playing baseball or riding your bicycle or life things, right? We need to teach them how to choose good passwords, you know, or multi-factor authentication. And our educators are not set up to do that because I think they're confused enough on what they're supposed to do themselves.
And not only that, they're so overwhelmed with just the stuff they have to do now.
Right.
Like, let's add an additional level that they have to teach that that's not their thing.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. So I think, you know, we've identified, I think, some really good places where we should spend money. I think we could easily spend money on getting all the schools in the entire country to speak the same language so that I can compare one school to another school. I can put them on a level playing field where these are the basics, the fundamentals. They're not complex, you know? And so let's get real prescriptive with what these fundamentals are and the ways you can achieve these things. And then I think on the other side, let's spend a whole bunch of money and time and effort in educating the educators.
Right. Yeah.
This is what security is. This is what it means to be a good digital citizen. Here's a curriculum for you. And I know that some educators are good at that and some are not. Some are lost. Let's unify that. We're in this together.
Use the funds to train your staff.
Right.
On cybersecurity, right? Like how to spot phishing emails, you know, how to, like you said, create a strong password using multi-factor. You know, the things we talk about every day that just aren't there right now.
No. And the thing is that I love about schools is there's nobody closer to a community. There's nobody who understands the heartbeat of a community better than a school district.
Oh, yeah.
So if we got that right, and this is visionary stuff, if you got that got it right, well, then you could use that as an avenue into people's homes, into the community, make the community stronger, stop being victims, and start being, you know, warriors.
Well, yeah, equip them with the tools to succeed. You know,
exactly.
I haven't met a person working in a school district, and maybe they're out there, but they work there because they care. They could go get jobs that make more money, that are, you know, better funded, but that's not, you know, it's not what they want.
Well, they won't get the whole summer off. I mean, come on. No, I'm kidding. So, all right. So there is funding available for people that are in K-12. You probably know more about those funding resources than I do. If you do have access to the funding resources and you have I think the flexibility to choose where that money is spent, we just sort of highlighted that for you. The best spend for your money is to get your hands around what it is you're trying to secure, right? Measure the security of that. That would be a risk assessment. And spend money on education, educating the educators, right? So you have a unified front from the teachers, from the administration, on this is what security is. It's a good thing. Let's embrace it. Let's be responsible. That's where I would spend the money if I had the ability to.
I fully agree. And we kind of touched on some stuff here, but on March 16th at 1 o'clock Central, I'll be talking with Brian Cola from Security Studio, and we're going to do a 45-minute webinar with Q&A on how can you maximize the impact of those funds. So,
I love it.
So yeah, we'll be able to dig in deeper, I think. Excuse me.
Well, and Ryan lives and breathes this. From my perspective, he is in my opinion, like the foremost or one of the foremost experts on K-12 cybersecurity, and him combining with you, where you have this just amazing ability to put things into context, and you're such a mission-driven guy. The two of you coming together, that's going to be an awesome webinar. So that's on the 16th, 12 days from today?
Yep. Yeah, and follow our marketing, social media. They're going to be sending out, Twitter, LinkedIn, links and announcements. So if you haven't seen it, take a look at our social media.
All right. So that's FRSecure.com. Checking that out somewhere. It's going to be posted.
Yep. I would assume there and LinkedIn and all the
cool.
Everywhere they've got social media. I don't do that stuff.
I know, I don't either. Well, that's one I'll tune into for sure. I'm very interested in hearing what you guys have to say. It makes me smarter, and when I talk to other people, I don't have to feel like such an idiot. Like when we were approached on this particular topic.
Oh my gosh.
Tell me how the COVID relief funds, how it can be used to benefit K-12 security. And I'm like, oh, that seems like an easy question. Let me go do some research. And I'm like, I have no idea.
Right.
I can only imagine. My heart breaks for, K-12 educators on trying to navigate this crap. Oh my gosh, it's insane. So another thing that came about, and this was signed into law towards the end of 2021, and this one caught some. I mean, it's pretty well known, even though people have trouble finding it, like we did. The K-12 Cybersecurity Act of 2021 was signed into law in October of 2021. Now, this doesn't have any real specific. This doesn't have any funding tied to it, and what it does do is it requires the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, that's CISA, that's part of the Department of Homeland Security, to study the cybersecurity risks facing elementary and secondary schools, and then develop recommendations that include cybersecurity guidelines.
Yeah, so it sounds like they listened, and this is going to be the baselines that they're doing 2 years later, a year and a half later.
Yeah, this is not the first swing at the... But yeah, this is not the first time that this bill had been introduced,
right?
At a federal level. And, I hope and I pray that this gets done well. I know CISA pretty well. That's a part of the Department of Homeland Security. Anytime you deal with the federal government, anytime you deal with a federal government agency, things get political. Money gets involved. There are big players. Look at who's sitting on CISA's,
right?
Their advisory boards and things. It's Microsoft. It's CrowdStrike. It's
right.
Palo Alto. It's the big players, and they better not come out with recommendations that are, well, buy our stuff, buy our stuff, buy our stuff. No, we already told. I mean, you didn't even need to get CISA to do this. We just did it. By the way,
right.
We just told you what the risks are. We just told you where you should spend your money. It should be pretty close to in alignment with what we just said. It's not like, and we're not the end all be all, but we've been here long enough, done this enough times. We're not biased. We don't play politics. I'm not in this for the money. You're not in this for the money. So if you want the purest sort of like, this is what you should do, we're pretty close.
Right. I mean, honestly, our stake in the game is our kids, and that we care about people.
100%, man. That's it.
I'm not profiting from helping them. So.
No. So look for that. I don't know, that guidance. They had 120 days to do that, and so they were coming up on that. Actually, that's already expired. So they should have already given those recommendations, maybe, and they just haven't been made public yet. I'm not sure.
Yeah, who knows? But fun.
But around that, you would expect some funding to come next, right? If you're going to create these prescriptive things and guidelines that K-12 is supposed to be doing, you need to enable them to do it. So they're going to need some money,
Yeah.
I assume.
I would think so.
So anyway, yeah, my heart. I mean, seriously, man, I don't think us as an industry could have made this any more complicated for K-12.
Yeah, especially with you can tell we're passionate about this. Yeah, but at a time when they're absolutely scrambling to try and figure out a new way to educate kids, just throw another layer on. Oh, great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's some money. Okay, let's piss away more money, because if you're not spending it on the right things, you're pissing it away.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I don't have an unlimited budget. Maybe the federal government does.
I mean, technically, I guess they could, but who knows?
I know, right? Just print more. All right. Anyway, another thing that, well, I guess we're at that point where it's probably time to wrap up. Do you have any news or anything that you want to cover?
It's just been going crazy, so I don't know if there's anything in particular. I think, like we talked about last week, just keep a pulse, an eye on what are the trends.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get too wrapped up in any one particular thing.
No, I agree, man. The world is crazy. It seems like it's getting crazier all the time. All the stuff going on with Ukraine and Russia. I'm a little surprised that things haven't gotten noisier on our front, but I think maybe they're holding back a little bit. The fact that Conti got their source code, released, and that was exciting and fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. That was I lulled at that.
Yeah.
I totally did.
Oh boy.
And then the crap that Anonymous is doing, I lulled at a lot of that too. It's like, you guys, seriously, you're going to end up causing more damage than you did good.
Right. Yeah.
But we'll find out. All right, any shout outs for you, man?
Since we talked about it today, how about just shout out to the school staff across the country, top to bottom.
Yep.
Keep it going.
It's unanimous, man. I'm gonna second that. It's hard, and it's become so political, and you see all the crap and people's names being dragged through the mud, and all the strife about wearing masks, not wearing masks, about school from home, school. I mean, it's just at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the best job that we can, and don't beat up your teachers. The teachers are busting their asses every day, dealing with your kids, dealing with your brats that you may not be raising them well, and they may be little sweethearts at home, but man, when they go into school, just like when I was a kid, I was an asshole at school, and I can only imagine what the kids are today. So
Right.
cut them some slack, give them some support, show them some love.
Sorry, my son just walked in.
All right.
Oh, I'm recording.
Well, anyway, we're at a wrap anyway, man.
All right.
Good talk, and we're here to support K-12 in any way we can, right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, brother. Take care.